Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I'm going there. I'm going to talk about the Renegade Pack, finally. I've tried to record this video quite a lot because I can't really find much to disagree with. But I think we'll have a look at the proposed changes for the 1.5 lot as well, and just go through that, basically. So essentially, these are a chap called Val Heffelfinger has put together this legacy pack because essentially, as he says in the preamble, these 7 factions GW have decided that they're not going to be supported. So there's a few design principles that I disagree with to begin with. I'll start with the points of disagreement because I'm going to agree with a lot of this stuff, right? Point of disagreement, I like the 1+ taxes. Like, I don't see why removal. And I think some of the factions where he's removed the 1+ taxes, for instance, Chaos Dwarves are already very good. Like, we see that in the meta. They're already quite competitive, as released by GW in a little PDF. They don't really need that much help, and that little unit of Chaos Dwarves is a bit of a tax. I think actually makes the list a bit more characterful, because then you've always got a little unit of dwarves. If you didn't have that, then you could have some like ridiculous lists where you got like tons of hobgoblins and so like there's but we'll get onto that when we get there. Actually, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to books. I want demons, dark elves, lizardmen, ogres, skaven, vampires. I thought it was 7 Chaos Dwarves, of course. Idiot. Right, let's open all those as well. Just for so we can compare the legacy pack and the rules in there to the rules in the factions. So these are all slowly opening. I don't know why my computer's being this slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. And now the PDF. Why is everybody putting AI in everything? Because it's making everything so slow. It's like, I used ChatGPT for another presentation, and honestly, I think I'd have been better off just doing it. I used it for that one about biases. Anyway, right. So he's changed how the dragged along stuff works, right? And I think this is really, really positive, really, really good, because this kind of stuff, like essentially a Skaven screaming bell, and the thing that the plague priest goes on that I've forgotten the name of, just off the top of my head. I've just got plague claw catapulting stuck in my head, and it's not that. But anyway, that like the pestilence equivalent of the screaming bell, plague something probably. I can't remember who else has dragged along. Dark elves have got one, haven't they? With the but essentially you can now put that, according to the Renegade rules, you can now stick it in a unit. If it's hit with a ranged attack, you kind of get a lookout, sir, but it's on a 5-up. That's fundamentally how that rule works, I think. Which I think is pretty cool. And if it's a heavy chariot, it no longer has lumbering whilst it's part of the unit, and may ignore it for the purposes of joining. So lumbering basically means you can't join units. I think. I can't remember, actually. Have I page 195, and he's page referenced it, which is fantastic. Page 195, which is about there. Special rules. There's special rules, isn't it, idiot? It's about here. Oh no, it's in the chariot bit, is it? Which is about there. Oh, I've gone a bit far. You usually do. Sorry, I've got a real frog in my throat today. I think I've got a bit of a cold. I was doing rugby training last night, and yeah. Lumbering, blah blah blah. It's close order. It can't pivot. Right. So after moving, unless charged on a pivot by facing up to 90 degrees, which you can't do, it's free pivot. Sorry, got that completely wrong. Which, of course, you shouldn't be able to do because you're in a unit. That totally makes sense. Yep. He did say in his update, as in the change log sort of thing, that he's going to change it. Replace or a model with a special rule begins a movement phase within one inch of a unit and replaces move characteristics with the base movement characteristic of the unit. Is he changing it again so you can't join units now? Modified dragged along to correct issues not be able to declare charges properly. Also added restrictions on how they declare the charges. Remove dividing attacks between the unit and the model with dragged along to reflect changes to how characters and the units are targeted. I don't see what the problem was with the old rule. Replace all. If a model with a special rule is also a character mount, you may join a unit of infantry. If it does so, it must always be placed in the centre of the front rank, right? Furthermore, if the which no longer has lumbering. Right. Also charged by the friendly unit. Right. So he's kept the old lumbering. Okay, so he's kept the old lumbering rule. So you can sort of, but you've got to charge at the same unit. So the dragged along rule as it stands at the moment, right? If you've got a thing that's dragged along, and you've got a unit behind it, you can replace the dragged along model's movement with the unit's movement and then make a charge. So essentially, you can get like this unit essentially propelling a dragged along thing at an opponent, right? But you can't ever have the dragged along, which I think is quite cool. He's stopped that here, in that you've got to then charge the same unit into. So it's got to have the same. So the unit propelling it and the thing also has to charge the same unit. I guess as well, technically, with him leaving the rule as it was, that you could propel the lumbering. Sorry, you could propel the dragged along thing into one unit, and then so you could separate. And now the dog wants to come back in and annoy me. Sorry, I've just done another video, and the dog wanted to get out of the room about 10 minutes ago. So yeah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Although, to be honest, I'd just get rid of the other interaction and just have dragged along, meaning that it has to be put in a unit. I'd also name the units that the dragged along models must be pushed by. So Skaven, obviously, you got Storm Vermin and Clan Rats. Absolutely no problem with that. But it shouldn't be in a unit of Giant Rats, for instance. Pestilence, it's got to be in a unit of Plague Priests, whatever the hell that thing was called that I've forgotten the name of. Dark Elves, it should be Witch Elves because it's a Shrine of Cain with some witchy elvy sort of things on. So, I think tea. I love tea. Yorkshire Gold, if you're interested. I did. I made a comment in my other video about the spiffing Brit because we got quite similar accents, and I too love Yorkshire Gold, and I think somebody made a comment, that later got deleted. That I was sort of ripping him off a little bit, but we're just both British blokes who enjoyed similar things. There's a lot of mid-30-year-old British blokes who drink Yorkshire Gold tea and sound a bit like this. So anyway, so that's dragged along. So then I think that's the only real rule change. And Howder in combat, all enemy rolls to hit are made against a weapon skill of the controlling players choosing for this. I thought that was a rule already, actually. So when I read that, I was a bit surprised because I thought that was the rule already. I thought, the defensive player always chooses the weapon skill that you're hitting against. So obviously always chooses the highest. But Howder says, yes, a behemoth with a split profile and firing platforms. Split profile on chariots. What's that do? Oh, bloody hell. I was literally just there, wasn't I? Because I was literally just looking at chariots. 194, split profile. Split profile. Crew of the beast each use their own weapon skill, and all enemy rolls to hit are made against the crew's weapon skill. I guess if you've got a character on a chariot, technically the character isn't one of the crew. It's there in addition to the crew, and so you can't defensively use the character's weapon skill technically. Although, okay, yeah, that does need clarifying. Yeah, good clarification, because that's not what it says. Okay, so let's do Chaos Dwarves. So let's finish on Chaos Dwarves. I'll go in the order I've opened them. So let's have a look at Dark Elves first, right? So Dark Elves, Chaos Dwarves. I want to do them last. Dark Elves, he's done last. That's interesting. Right, Murderous. So, oh, hold on. That's rules changes. Have we got army composition somewhere else? Yeah. No, it's Chaos Dwarves, Demons. Lizardmen have changed the army composition. Ogre Kingdoms have as well. Skaven have as well. Vampire counts have not, and Dark Elves have not. Right. So the army composition is the same. Murderous in the first round of combat, model with a special rule may reroll any rolls to wound of natural 1. Excellent rule. Totally agree with that. Currently the rule is if you've got a single hand weapon and you've got the murderous keyword, you can reroll wounds to 1 of wound rolls of 1. I don't think you will ever use that rule. The only model that might use that rule is a sorceress who might just have a hand weapon, right? But like your executioners of Harganeth, they've got murderous. They've got an amazing great weapon, so they're never going to use hand weapons, or I really can't see when they would. So because it's not a great weapon, it's a bit like the high elf thing as well. So you know, witch elves have got it. They're never going to use a single hand weapon because they're always going to use 2 because, you know, more attacks is better than reroll 1s to wound. So you're never going to use it. So this actually makes it useful and really good and makes Dark Elf, witches in particular, really nice. A Dark Elf Dreadlord or Master may be mounted on a Dark Pegasus for 35 points. I didn't realise they couldn't be. I don't think I've ever thought of doing that, but actually, to be honest, it makes sense because having your BSB on a Dark Pegasus is really helpful. Yeah, they can't go on a Dark Pegasus. How weird is that? I don't think I've ever spotted that. How bizarre. And so should a Beastmaster be. Yeah, of course. So, yep, agree with that. This is where the video gets boring, because I just start agreeing. Manticore, toughness plus 2. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, the Chaos Warrior Manticore is toughness plus 1, but Chaos has got higher toughness already. No, it's not toughness plus anything, is it? And Chaos. No, it's not toughness plus anything. But, you know, so for instance, High Elf Dragons are toughness plus 3. The Chaos one is toughness plus 1. So, essentially we're saying that monsters with elves get, like, more toughness modifiers. But I think it's tough. Where the bloody hell is the sodding thing? Oh, it's down in monsters, isn't it? Manticore. Oh, that's Black Dragon. Manticore, toughness plus 1. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know whether... Because then it makes it toughness 4. Yeah, I guess toughness 5 is better. I do think you probably need to change the points, though, if you're giving it plus 1 toughness. So if that's, you know, now an extra plus, like maybe 150. Don't know. Cauldron of Blood. different base sizes. Blessings of Cain is power level 3, which is he talking about changing that? I mean, I think power level 3 is fine, to be honest, but I don't think yeah, I don't think he's changed that. So that's still got a power level of 3. I'm presuming it's currently 2. But, sorry, Cauldron of Blood was... Oh, bloody hell. Cauldron of Blood is here. Power level 2. Yeah. Yeah. Gains Furious Charge, Cleaving Blow, or Water. Well, yeah, that going off on a 6 instead of a 7. I don't know that it needs 3, but it does make it a bit... Yeah, I think 3 is probably alright. Or maybe change that casting value to an 8 instead, if you want it to go off more. I think that's probably... I'd have probably gone for like a casting value of 8 to make it easier to dispel. But, you know... But also equally reliable in terms of casting. But, I mean, minor point of difference. War Hydra Serrated Moors change AP to 1. Yes, it doesn't have any AP, does it? It's got, yeah, Armor Bane. Yeah. So it's got extra attacks, which is equal to remaining wounds. So it's got essentially 2 normal attacks at Weapon Skill 4, Strength 5, AP 2. And then the Serrated Moors, however many wounds it's got, it gets 5 additional attacks with this profile, with multiple wounds 2, Armor Bane 1. He's given it AP 1 as well. I think that's fair. You know, Strength 5 shouldn't be AP 0, really. So, yeah, that's perfectly fair. So that's Dark Elves. There's very little changes he's made to vampire counts as well. So, the Wailing Dirge may only target a unit's in base contact if it's in combat. So you can kind of shut it down a little bit by charging into it, which is, you know, fine. I quite like that. I still think with the Wailing Dirge, we need to. I think actually, you need to look a lot at how Warhammer Total War plays, because that's super fun and like the things in it have really cool effects, but you know, some of them are broken if you wind them up and stack a load of magic items and defeat traits and stuff like that. But like, realistically, most stuff in base game is pretty well balanced, despite being fun and doing cool stuff. So the Wailing Dirge, what it is it's an aura that essentially just deals damage to stuff close to it. So I think Wailing Dirge, we ought to change it to that. So essentially, Wailing Dirge becomes something like, I don't know, let's say any enemy unit within 6 inches of any model with the Wailing Dirge keyword must take a leadership test with, let's say, minus two leadership, and if they fail, they take, I don't know whether to go for 1 or D3 wounds, but I do something like that. So it's just like constant chip. So they take D3 wounds, no armor saves or regen saves are allowed, but ward saves are allowed, right? So I'd do that, but have it being like constant chip damage, but not that much. It then gives you game to like put like your like banshees within range of their characters, just to like do a bit of Wailing Dirge damage, maybe. And then also it helps with like necromancy not stacking anymore with like, so but then you can get like -3 from necromancy, so you can get people's leadership down. But then actually D3 is fine, isn't it? Because even if it just does D3, it's unlikely to really do an awful lot of damage, so it's unlikely to be massively impactful, but it's just like this aura that makes you want to kill those things quicker. And that's exactly the same when you're playing against vampire counts in Total War. So I think that would be better. The Accursed Reliquary, he's essentially removed their ability to stack. Totally agree with that. So let's just quickly look at the Mortis Engine, wherever the damn thing is. Isn't it over? Oh, hold on. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. So whilst within command range, get +1 to move and initiative. I mean, technically, rules has written that stacks. Or wizards when within command range. Yeah, that does technically stack as well. So yeah, I agree with that. I didn't realise they did. Vampire Count's leadership changed to 9 and give the option to full plate armor. He's also put Dark Vitality. You can wear armor without penalty. I don't know what I think about this actually, because I quite like the idea of a vampire character, you know, not being a mega wizard and also like a combat character. I quite like the concept of like vampires that focus on combat, you know, don't have that much in terms of vampiric powers. I don't know. I'd have, yeah, but then again, you can just stick your vampire on like a Coven throne. I mean, I don't know why you would, because they're not that good. I mean, I have with mine because I like the model and it's one of those choices. But that's my Neferata army, so I've got her on a Coven throne basically. But like, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess a lot of vampire players would be like, yeah, would totally agree with that and would want that. And yeah, the full plate armor, absolutely agree with that, because it annoys me. Because my list at the moment, I've got 9 Blood Knights and then 1 Vampire Count who's a BSB in the Blood Knights, but he can only take heavy armor, so they've got a 2-up save and he's got a 3-up for some weird reason. It's very annoying. Black Coaches put it on a bigger base, absolutely. Like the tiny base it's on is ridiculous. Dark Acolyte, if this model's not already a wizard for the purpose of using this special rule, the model counts as level 1. I think that's implied. I think that's pretty, you know... I'm not even sure that that's not what it says. That's one of the demonic things, vampiric things, isn't it? Where are they? Where are the vampiric things? Enchanted, magic. Here we go, Dark Acolyte. Invocation, for the purpose of using the special rule, the model counts as level 1 wizard. I don't know why that doesn't say that already, to be honest, but whatever. Maybe there's a bit of debate. I don't know. Skaven. Oh. No, I want to do Skaven last. Save the best for last. Right. Ogre Kingdoms. I love ogres. I love the fat boys. I love me fat boys. They're great. What's he done with ogres? So we've got some changes to the army composition. Ogres, this is one of those occasions where he has removed the tax on 1+ ogre bulls. Absolutely disagree with removing that. I think that's necessary. I think ogres should always have some ogre bulls. I don't want to see an ogre list that has no ogres in, other than the characters, right? Thematically, I disagree with that. If you're going to do a sub-faction that's like full of yetis and stuff like that, absolutely fine with that. But not the main Ogre Kingdom list. It's got to have some fat boys in core, as far as I'm concerned. So I disagree with that. That's not what I'm looking at. I think, other than that, 1 Tyrant or Slaughtermaster per 1,000. I think Iron Guts, Noblar... Oh, hold on. Has he... No, Iron Guts are there. Noblar Fighters, Trappers and Saber Tusks. Yeah, I think all of these are the same. Man-Eaters, Mournfang Cav. Per 1,000. Yeah, I think all of that is the same. Oh, 0 to 3 Gorges in rare. May take up 1 rare slot. Actually, I quite like that. 3 gorges taking up a rare slot. That's pretty good. So you can take 6 gorges. Are they single models then, or because I quite like gorges. They're gorgeous. They're cool. They've got actually quite an important battlefield role of essentially hunting war machines and actually being able to do it. Because you think, like, even Cathay with their ogre, that's normally a challenge, not to the Gorger. And the Gorger gives you a 90-point model that's got ambushes, It is just one on their own. So actually 3 of them in a and they're only 90 points each. 3 of them in a rare choice. I really like that, actually. That's a really good change. Really, really good. I think that was already in it, wasn't it? Lead Belchers. He's changed the gun. He's changed the gun for Lead Belchers. Sorry, my mouse is playing up and moving weirdly, which is quite annoying. Right, so the Lead Belcher... Oh, is it in the Lead Belcher profile? Of course it is. Oh, bugger off. Stop clicking on the wrong thing. Gorgeous. So they'll be about here, won't they? Where are they? Lead Belchers. So we got 24, 5-2, Armor Bane 1, Cumbersome, 5, 24, Cumbersome, multiple wounds 2. Yeah. Or Scattershot 18, 3, D3 hits if it hits, blah. 4, AP 1. Okay, so he's improved the Scattershot. Yeah, fair enough. I don't see that as making too much of a difference. It just makes Lead Belchers a bit better. Look, the Scattershot was quite crap, so he's made that average. So yeah, good change. Iron Blaster can only shoot into the front arc. Iron Blasters are wicked. I freaking love Iron Blasters. Like, they're so cool. And I'm smiling because I love them so much. Because it's just a great cannon. It's a great cannon. But like, it fires a bit, and then basically when it misfires, half the time one out of 6, but like, it can't shoot this turn and can't shoot next turn. Like a misfire, you might think that's a really bad misfire table, but it's not, because it's still a strength 5 heavy chariot with 5 wounds, a 4-up save, doing D6 plus 1, strength 5 AP 2 impact hits, and it's toughness 6. So it's a bloody good heavy chariot with a cannon on top of it. So actually, it's just great. I really do like. And of course, it can do Grape Shot because it's got the cannon fire roll. That's how you get access to Grape Shot. But it's got its own Scatter Shot as well. So it can use Grape Shot, it can use this Solid Shot, or it can use a Scatter Shot. So it's really cool. It's really cool. And of course, actually, if you use the Scatter Shot, there's no chance for a misfire, is there? Because it's just a breath weapon. So, that was odd. Somebody nearly ran over a pedestrian because they weren't paying attention. So yeah, front arc, I mean, it's got cumbersome because it's a chariot, so it can pivot 90 degrees at the end of its move anyway. So you really shouldn't have problems firing that thing. And, it's a bloody chariot. They're really manoeuvrable. Hunters, when a hunter joins Saber-Tusks, the unit may adopt or stay in skirmish formation despite the differences in their unit types. Yeah, I thought that was a thing already, but obviously not. Or is it? And he's just clarifying. It's quite a while since I took ogres to anything. Hunter, and I don't use hunters. I know some people really like them. They gain swift stride. Saber-Tusks lose impetuous. Yeah, I think that's the skirmish rule, isn't it? It's the skirmish rule that says that you can't have different unit types skirmishing with each other. And Saber-Tusks, I think, have skirmish. Pardon me. I've got a really big frog in my throat that's really tickling. I might have to stop. Where the bloody hell are Sabertusk? There we are. Yeah, they do have skirmishers, and they are war beasts, so they're unit strength 1, so they're -1 to hit and shooting, which is important to because if you're unit strength 1 skirmishers, you -1 to hit. So it's important to remember that with Sabertusks. Right, that's all cool. I like that. I like that. Well, I don't like. I viscerally disagree with not having ogre balls as like a 1+. Maybe 1+ ogre balls or iron guts. I don't know, but your fat boys definitely there should be one, at least one unit of them. I like the increase to that's not. I mean, thematically, Iron Blaster works, so fine. And Hunters, yeah, like that. So yeah, mostly agree with Ogre changes. Lizardmen. Okay, so we've got a new army composition. Have we? We have. 0 to 1 Slime Mage Priest per 1,500 points. What is it at the moment? 0 to 1. Well, if it's 0 to 1, make it 0 to 1 per 2,000. Oh, actually, no, per 15. Actually, yeah, maybe 0 to 1 per 15. Yeah, actually, 1,500, I'm fine with that. Because, like, a 3,000 point list. So, like, your 3,000 point list is a bit like a full stack in Warhammer Total War. You know, and having 2 Slann in an army isn't. I don't think it's game breaking. They're not very good, to be honest. Well, they are, as you will see shortly. They're quite good now. But then you got the Old Blood per 1,000, which I think is the same. That's the Skink. Oh no, hold on. He's removed the restriction on Skink Priest. Oh yeah, because it's 0 to 1 Old Blood or Skink Priest per 1,000 points. Actually, no, I do agree with that. That's thematic. There's a reason for that, because Skink Priests are like the top level skink, as it were, and Saurus Old Bloods are like the top level Saurus, so they're like the top level of each. And I see why that and that kind of makes sense thematically. He's removed the 1+ Saurus Warriors. That's one of these 1+ things that I sort of agree with. I think it ought to be 1+ unit of Saurus Warriors or 1+ Temple Guard if your general is a Slime Mage Priest. So I think if your general is a Slime Mage Priest, you should be forced to take a unit of Temple Guard. Because why wouldn't they be there? And also that works thematically as well. Right, so specials, I don't think there's any. I was removed a lot of restrictions on specials because they've got like 0 to 2 Bastillodons per 1,000 points. We're only at 3 anyway with comp. 0 to 1 unit Ripidactyl Riders per Skink Hero, Pterodons. I mean, removing those restrictions is interesting. I don't think Pterodons or Ripidactyls are that good, so I don't think that's massively game breaking, so that's fine. And just gives people a bit more flexibility. And then the rare stuff, again, he's just removed any restrict. Although, you know, with current comp, you're only allowed 2 of them anyway. So he's removed the restrictions that are now back in place because you're only allowed 2 rare slots. 2 of the same rare slots. So the restrictions are back. None of them are particularly brilliant. So Ancient Stegodon's alright, but that's much better off as a mount for a Skink Priest. Yeah. Yeah, and he's kept the Slime Mage Priest as the BSB. I was worried he's going to get rid of that. I quite like that. Cold-blooded, when required to make a leadership test or break test, may roll an extra d6 and discard. So at the moment, if you're rolling a panic test, I think is the cold-blooded is just panic, isn't it, at the moment? Or in this rule set, cold-blooded. Oh, sorry, fear, panic, or terror. That's right. You roll a d6 and discard the highest result. This is any leadership or break test. So that includes stupidity, right? This is mega, right? It makes Cold One Knights way more viable because they're only leadership 8. So it makes passing that stupidity. Cold One Knights are actually pretty decent. It's just stupidity that makes them awful. He's got rid of large target and close order on the Slime Mage Priest. It knows one more spell than is normal for its level of wizardry. I'm not sure what its rules are at the moment, to be honest. I always look at it and think, oh, that's really cool, but I just can't get it to fit in my list in it somehow. Now, actually, with this pack, I might be able to. So, level 4. Okay, so he's saying they get to know one extra spell for free, and can reroll one of the d6 when making a casting roll once per turn. Which is pretty good, actually. That's better than re-rolling the whole casting roll, because obviously if you've got like a 7, you've got a 1 and a 6, you can re-roll the 1 and you keep the 6. So that's pretty good. This character may join a unit with a Guardian special rule despite having fly. As long as the front rank has a minimum of 4 models, they may be placed in the second rank. However, they continue to confer benefits to the unit in form of leadership and special rules. As long as this model is not in a fighting rank, which it is now if the unit's charged and they're infantry, they may cast and dispel, even if the unit is engaged in combat, but may not cast assailment spells. 360 vision ignores models in its unit. That makes it very, very powerful, but it makes it function like it used to, which I think is a really, really positive change. A really positive change, but they should be more expensive if you're going to give them all of that back. Temple Guard don't do their sort of distant lookout sir rule. They just get that Guardian thing. So arguably he's repointed the slime being able to do that sort of stuff by shoving it in the unit and making it work thematically and also work on the tabletop. Arcane configuration. So if you're near a temple, what is it called? Engine of the Gods. Then, as long as there's 2 Engine of the Gods in your army and you're within 6-8 inches of one of them, then you get +1 to cast. This is removing the requirement that you have 2 in your army, so they just confer a casting bonus. I'm perfectly okay with that. He's replaced the Salamander Hunting Pack Column of Fire blah 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 thing and given it a 0-inch range. It's got 12-inch range at the moment, hasn't it? Has he made it better otherwise? Salamanders, what are they, about here-ish? There we go. Oh, and its weapon is, of course, here. Where? It says look below. There. Oh, NA range. Oh, okay. So it's just... okay. So he's turned it into a column of fire attack like a flame cannon, that kind of thing. Does that mean I might take it for 75 points for a column of fire? Nah, not really. Column of fire weapons are rubbish. At the moment, the rules for them just make them... It's really difficult to get them to hit anything. You know, it's really difficult to get them to hit anything because of the random range effect. Because basically you pick a point within, 12 inches, and then you roll an artillery dice, and then the flame template lands there. So you've got a huge amount of variability as to where the flame template might end up. It's just a bit unwieldy. I think, to be honest, you ought to just pick a point to put the template within 12 inches and then just roll an artillery roll an artillery die, and then on a misfire, then you just suffer the consequences, but you get to aim with it, and I think that would make them a lot better and people would start to take them then. But like column of fire stuff is just rubbish at the moment. But he's tried to but just as a standard breath weapon on a model that isn't that quick. Absolutely awful. So this is definitely an improvement. The problem is column of fire attacks are still rubbish. So yeah, I quite like all that. Do I still think the Slime Mage Priest needs to go up in points? Yeah, probably. Probably. If you're going to give it all that. Actually, we've not looked at what its rules are. Oh, okay, so it gets that already. Arcane Shield, large target, Law of Lost. Didn't it already have like some effect to re-roll stuff? No. I don't know. Sorry, I just need to close my windows because the sun's decided to come out. With this being Britain, our houses are designed to amplify any exterior heat internally. So you need to close the curtains. Right, so that's Lizardmen. Good changes, agree with most of that. We've done ogres, we've not done Skaven yet, but save the best till last. Demons! Demons! Okay, so basically he's removed a lot of restrictions and made it easier to mix and match stuff in your army. One greater demon per 1,000 points and per unit with the same demonic alignment. Is, absolutely fine. I think that's quite cool. If your general is a demon of Blight, you can take these as core, but you still get, like, core units. I disagree with that. I think your core should be dictated by your general, as it is at the moment. But whatever. I don't think, a Great Unclean one should be able to take pink horrors as core. That just feels wrong. And anti-law, to be honest. That's kind of a bit, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't really make sense from a game perspective, game design perspective as well, because Nurgle relies on synergizing its own units, so you're kind of helping people to write terrible lists by not making people specialize. So I disagree with that. There's as per current comp, there's no reason to put 0 to 1 per 1,000 points on anything in rare because that's the restriction. Pardon me. God, this goddamn cough. I haven't even vaped yet today. I've just got a real... this is brilliant. Thank you, Val, because they've now all just got a 5 at ward save. At the moment, the 5 at ward save on demons is negated by magical attacks. That's terrible against stuff like Chaos Warriors, who just scythe through everything because they've got magical attacks. And you've got very little armour, so like no armour, no ward save, largely toughness 3. You need something that keeps you on the table, and the ward save keeps you on the table, so that's really important. Demon Princes get regen 5 up in the list, which is fine. Greater Demons get Close Order. Fleshhounds get Swift Stride. Absolutely agree with that. Palanquin change base size. Okay, don't know why that. Is that so it can fit in more? That's so it can fit in more units, isn't it? So you can, yeah. There we go. Palanquin of the... Oh, is that? So it's 50 by 50 base, and he wants it to be up to 60 by 60. Plague Bearers are on a 30 by... I've not spotted that before. That is so fucking dumb. Because obviously you want your Herald to go in your Plague Bearers unit. Why would you put it on the wrong size base? Cretins, aren't they? Honestly. Nurglings get scouts, as they damn well should have. Very bizarre that they didn't have that already. Hellflayer gets AP on impact hits. Perfect. Blue Horrors get skirmishers. I don't know why all horrors don't have skirmishers anyway, but I can see what he's doing here in that essentially because pink horrors don't split and split again anymore, he's trying to develop a battlefield role for blue horrors that makes them actually quite distinct from pink horrors. Really good design choice, better than Games Workshop's rules, so agree with that. That makes them a bit cool. They're not overpointed anyway because their shooting attacks are tremendously bad, but numerate. Um, then the skull cannon can only shoot into the front arc. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter because it's a chariot, so it's pretty manoeuvrable anyway, but, you know, whatever. So, yeah, all good changes, apart from the army composition stuff. I don't like that. I think there should be more, like, God focus on a list, because essentially the demon book is essentially 4 army lists in one. And you can cross over a little bit, but, like, it's basically 4 army lists in one, which is pretty cool. And then we've got Skaven and Chaos Dwarves. So let's do Chaos Dwarves, because I said save the best till last. Chaos Dwarves, he's, what's in this? Sorcerer Prophet or Castellan per 1,000 points. Same, Bull Centaur Taruk. Oh yeah, he's moved that to somewhere else, hasn't he? Yeah, he's put it in rare, which is interesting. So it's no longer a character. Which actually, you know, I kind of like that. And he's removed the restriction that you have to take some renders in order to get a Taruk. He's got sorcerers, black orc boss 0 to 1. Yep. And then we've got a black orc mob. So you used to have to take a unit of Infernal Guard. He's given them Iron Sworn. If no Black Orcs, and if your general is an Infernal Castellan, not a Sorcerer Prophet. So in order to take the Iron Sworn as core, Iron Sworn are arguably better than Infernal Guard, but in order to take them as core, you've got to essentially take a Castellan, which you can easily fit a Sorcerer Prophet and a Castellan in 2,000 points. So that's no sweat, really. And not doing Black Orcs is, again, not a massive problem in terms of list building, although... You know, I genuinely think a Black Orc war boss on Wyvern is probably the best. With the Trollhide Trousers, Talisman of Protection, you can give it a decentish magic item as well. Or even a great weapon. I think that's the best mounted character in the game. In terms of DPS output, survivability and cost, it's brilliant. So, I think because of that, you probably want to go the Black Orc route. But this, I actually like this. This is good design choice. And actually, I did say I was not in favour of getting rid of the Infernal Guard as core. I mean, I think there should be a bit of a restriction on the Cutthroats as core. Because I wouldn't want to see, like, Black Orcs and Hobgoblins and then a load of artillery from Chaos. That just wouldn't... as a sub-faction, yeah, fine. But, like, for the main list, no. That's just a aesthetic, you know, choice for me. I don't think it really makes any difference in terms of game balance. So I think that's all good. Infernal God commanders can have full plate. No idea why they wouldn't. And they can take Bale Tauruses and Great Tauruses, and Seneschals can go on a Great Taurus, which is pretty cool. Castellan on a Bale Taurus. I'm not sure about the lore behind Taurus. I think they have to be tamed by sorcerers. I think that's... Let's just ask ChatGPT. What is the lore behind Bale Taurus Warhammer? I'm also going to Google it and race it. No, that's Total War. Yeah, they don't die, do they? That's pretty cool. I've forgotten about that. They don't die of old age. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they die in battle. Yeah, it's something. There's something to do with them that means that it's only demon bound monstrosity. It's a sacred to Hashut. Yeah, Sorcerer Prophets only ride Bale Tauruses, actually. Great Tauruses, okay. So you Bale Taurus, I don't think... Yeah, Bale Taurus should be reserved for Sorcerer Prophets. I can't remember what it is, but there's some bloody reason why Bale Taurus is only Sorcerer Prophets. I think it's something to do with, like, the heat. Like, only Sorcerer Prophets can, like... They channel it or something. Or whatever, but yeah, Bale for lore reasons, Bale Taurus I think should be Sorcerer Prophets only, and I can't remember exactly why. I can't find it right now, but could I Fireborn change their wounds to? Yeah, they've only got 2 wounds. They're just. Could I really need a glow up, right? So I'm glad they've got a little bit of attention. They need a bit more, I think. 41 points for now. 3 wounds is okay. They got regen 5, which is, you know, alright, but they are warp spawned, which means they don't get regen against magical attacks. And they don't have any armour. So they just got toughness 4, no armour. Like, they just disappear. They got a 3+ ward save against flaming, which, you know, that's absolutely fine. But the problem is, like, yeah, and they're unstable as well. So they lose around a combat and they just lose more wounds rather than running away. They're just pretty... They need to be made a lot better. I mean, maybe just give them a 3 at ward save. Like, that'll make them reasonably tanky. You then that gives you a reason to have unstable in their rules, because that means you have to combat res them. Like, killing them's hard, so combat resing them's the answer. They've only got goddamn hand weapons anyway. I mean, yes, they're in Source Swords, so they're AP 1 magical attacks, but they've only really got hand... Counts as a hand weapon, you should say. You know, they should really have 2 hand weapons, maybe, but they've got the attacks probably already, so... I don't know, they need something, but I think make them a lot more tanky, because they've got unstable, so unstable units should be tanky, like because of size, as in skeletons, or because they're just tough and you can slowly crumble them with combat res. So, you know, I think more needs to be done to make Kadai better, really. That's not enough. And then Skaven. Skaven's the last one. So I actually largely agree with those changes. Changed my mind. Right, I have changed my mind, sorry. So Skaven, the characters. You are allowed 1 Warlord or Grey Seer per 1,000. He separated those out. Don't see the point. Having 2 Grey Seers and a Warlord feels a bit much. And then he's removed all the other restrictions on the other characters. That's fine. You can only take 3 anyway. So, you know, going from a maximum of 2 to 3 doesn't make any difference because you're not going to do that. But whatever. Remove that so people can build more characterful lists. Absolutely agree with that. 25 points spent on Clan Rats, Night Runners, blah, blah, blah. Now, isn't there a 1+? There is Clan Rats. I mean, I'd take them anyway. Mainly to get a rattling gun. But yeah, I don't know. 0 to 1 Plague Monks if army includes a Plague Priest, fine. Storm Vermin if you contain a Warlord, fine. That's I agree with all that. That makes sense. The 1+ on Clan Rats, getting rid of that. I don't know whether I agree with that or not. Because I can see, like, you could go for, like, a Master Molder sort of list, but there are no Master Molders. Master Molders are, like, upgrades to... Master Molders are, like, the hero level version from Clan Molder. You know, so they're the ones that, like, make all the mutated stuff and, like, the, you know, the... like giant rats and rat ogres, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and the abomination, you know, that's a Molder creation, but there's no Molder character, which I'm a bit... Well, there is, but it's like a champion upgrade in a unit, so it's not really the same. Special, I think he's just removed all the number restrictions pretty much on stuff, apart from the Hell Pit, but that's back anyway. 0 to 1 can be taken per 1,000 points if you've got an engineer. He's kept that. 0 to 1 of the following, maybe taken per 1,000 points. I think that does mean 2 Doom Wheels and 2 Warp Lightning Cannons is okay. But that's going in my list from what we can see in a minute. And then we've got a Chieftain can be a BSB. Right, Clan Rats. Change the size to 20 plus. Isn't it already? Sorry, I'm absolutely 20 to 40. You can't have more than 40 in a unit. Why not? No, that makes no sense. Why are you not allowed that? Do you know what? I've genuinely never seen that before, because I always take units of 20 as like rattling gun delivery things. But an ad regiment. Okay, so the big thing that he's changed. So the Skaven weapon teams at the moment, basically, if you've got a unit and you put the thing there, then it can shoot and all the rest and blah, 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 blah. But it can't be targeted. He's changed it so it's a detachment, right? So it can now be targeted because it's, you know, it's... or maybe it can't. I don't know. I need to read the rules properly. But what it can do now is it can stand and shoot against a unit that's charging its parent unit. So you take a couple of... So that just makes it a little bit better. Help it is put up to... Oh, sorry. So what was I going to look at? I was going to look at weapons teams. Here they are. Do we delete all those? Delete deploying and weapon team leadership. So it's got its own leadership. So it's always leadership 4. So it's really, really liable to running away. But the targeting restrictions are still there. So that's good. Sorry, I just need to clear. Right. Let's go back to the T. Yeah. I don't know whether I like that or not. I don't know whether that's better. Because I mean, removing the rank bonus and making them a bit more like liable to run off just means that basically somebody can charge it with the terror-causing unit, right? It then has to flee. So I guess you're going to have to be a lot smarter in terms of where you deploy it or where you keep it so that people can't get a charge arc off at it. Which is why I think like deleting the rule in this instance is just a bit... Because I think you can get around it. Like, I think if you're careful as to... So essentially your opponent can't charge that unit, then it still gets to stand and shoot, though. That's the difficulty. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I feel like Skaven are so far at the bottom of the meta at the moment that anything that takes anything away from them is just like, you know, it's like somebody's tied up a slave and you just keep kicking it for no reason. That's what this feels like a little bit. But Help It Abomination, I think it's toughness 5 and D3 impact hits at the moment. So he's made it a bit tougher and do a few more impact hits. Or one more impact hit, sorry, not a few. Help It is... Oh, it's got... Oh, no, Stomps it's already got. It hasn't got impact hits. Yeah, doesn't it have... okay, Avalanche of Flesh is this weird attack. Yeah, Avalanche of Flesh should be lots of impact hits, I'm afraid. I'd say Avalanche of Flesh instead of you can just do like an extra 2 or D6 impact hits. I think that'd be quite cool. But it's got like some pretty cool rules and it's pretty interesting. It's quite expensive for what it is. Toughness 6 really helps it. It does have regen 5, so I think toughness 6 makes it worthy of inclusion, and the impact hits do help. So yeah, I think that's a good change. Warp Lightning Cannon, right. The Warp Lightning Cannon at the moment, you roll 8 dice, that's its range. In an absolutely straight line, anything that line crosses gets hit by an attack that is the strength of an artillery dice. So that's how you get your misfires. They're saying enemy characters cannot be struck in the same way that normal cannons can't be used to snipe characters. Agree with that, 100%. He's given it magical attacks, because obviously it's magical. I don't know why it didn't have it. And he's given it multiple wounds D3 plus 1, which is fantastic. Because at the moment it just does 1 wound. It is AP3, I think. Here we go. AP3, yep. And then it has its special lightning stuff. And then it's got this really cool, like, misfire. So if you misfire, you roll 2 to 4, you spin the thing around in a random direction and shoot that way. Strength 6, again AP3. Now D3 plus 1 damage. That's cool. I just love that. I love that. I love the warp lightning cannon. I love the fact that he's made it like that multiple in D3 plus 1 makes it worth taking. Because it's only 100 points, 110 points, sorry, which isn't that much for a pretty decent cannon. It's not got a very long range, but I'm absolutely fine with that. I think that's great. The Plague Furnace, you know, he said can drag along, join Plague Monks. Skaven Bell can join Clan Rats or Storm Vermin. Can't use Verminous Valor if it's a mount, obviously, because you can't go hide behind it. Actually, I don't know whether I agree with that. Because I think if you're a character, but then it means your opponent can attack you. Yeah, because it's not like it used to be. Yeah, because it used to be like the characters and your mounts were sort of separate, so it could hide and then you could attack the chariot and not the character. Whereas now it's the whole thing. You got the whole wounds and toughness of the whole thing. So yeah, okay, fair. Cool. So that I don't really disagree with any of that massively. There's a few points of disagreement, but you know, whatever. These happen. Oops. And then so we've got some amends. So modified great in giving these mounts back to the I'd failed to notice both mounts are behemoth. Modified Great Taurus to be a monstrous creature. So, is he saying the Great Taurus is no longer... Right, let's just go through the changes that he's proposing. So he's done that thing. So he's changing the Great Taurus to a monstrous creature. Storm of Ash. Oh, he's updating some of the casting values because stuff's got harder to cast now because of the way that they've changed the modifiers. Add a 4th bullet point. If a unit with this rule is completely destroyed due to failed leadership, the enemy units may attempt to restrain and reform or overrun. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's how I'd play it at the moment, but because it's destroyed before you decide what you do with the combat units. I think that's rules as written already, but I mean, it's important to actually say these things because people, you know, miss things. Palanquin changes to monstrous infantry. Monstrous infantry can go in infantry, can't they? Yeah, so yeah, I don't have any problem with that. That's fine. I don't know why you do that because it doesn't make that much difference, does it? Because it's not like he's got a hand weapon and a shield, so he can't do the infantry stuff. Yeah, I don't think that makes a huge difference. Plague Wind, rubbish template thing, and Gift of Mutations made it easier to cast. It's fine. This may reroll 1d6 when making a cast. May not be used to reroll a miscast. I mean, yeah. They may cast and spell even if it's, however, as long as this model is not in base-to-base contact. Okay, so he's removed that, so it can still go in the second rank. Even though it counts as being in the fighting rank, it gets all those benefits. I don't know whether I agree with that. That's, yeah, okay, fine. Friendly wizards may apply a +1 modifier to any casting. So this is the arcane configuration from the Stegodon with a Engine of the Gods on. Make whilst within. I think he kind of already said that, but that's much better stated. He's given us a page reference for Column of Fire there. Yeah, he's made Apotheosis a little bit better. Becomes Drench for the range. Yeah, Monsoon. I think he's made that. No, he's not made that cast any better. It is quite a good spell. Monstrous Infantry, apart from Yetis, gain Press of Battle and Massed Infantry. I mean, I don't think they need it. But whatever. Because they don't have Hand Weapon and Shield. They don't have... So they can't benefit from that. They basically just get an extra supporting attack when they get charged. And, you know, that's thematically supposed to represent the first two ranks kind of, you know, bleeding, or when charging, the kind of the front rank bleeding into the second rank a little bit. Which kind of feels a bit sort of slightly realistic. So, but you're not going to push through some ogres, are you? So I'm not sure about that one. Iron Fist does count as a mundane shield. So if you can take an Iron Fist, you can take a magic shield. I'm fine with that. Hunters may benefit. Yeah, actually, that's a good clarification. Yeah, and he's made some spells easier to cast. Not to one of each of the following may be taken of each per 1,000 points. Yes, so he's made it there. Like I said, may ignore the minimum model requirement to form a detachment. They may only form as many weapon team detachments as noted in the regimental unit's description. Yeah, so one weapon team each, and detachment. I mean, I think that's kind of implied, but you know, these things do need stating. Yeah, he's made some spells easier to cast. Spells are easier to cast. He's actually put the unit size on. So, rules as written at the moment, you can summon a unit of 2d3 zombies and then keep going until it's got 40 because it's zombies. Although there's a bit of ambiguity around the raised dead thing. Not that I play it like that. I don't take the spell because I don't want the debate. Yeah. To two of the following. Yep. So I don't. He's changed the numbers in the. He made it easier to cast. Easier to cast. Black horror. 2d6. Enemy. So d6 strength tests. Change the one. Play the template is treated as difficult terrain. Oh yeah, it's probably dangerous, and it's changed to difficult because they seem to have changed all the templates that are dangerous terrain down to difficult. They seem to be getting rid of dangerous terrain, which I think is really stupid. But whatever. This one, however, you are affected by it as well. So I mean, yeah, maybe. No edits to the preamble. But yeah, I think overall this is a good change. This is a good change. I plan to do an additional pass on all legacy factions, delving more into the details, so magic items and stuff like that. Making these armies feel a lot more like they did in the past and much more like a finished product rather than a draft version of the rules. I'll be mindful not to tip the apple cart by trying to do too much. I think that's a pretty decent point, really. Like, you know, you don't need to make massive changes. I think, you know, Skaven do need something else to make them better. I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, I think going through the magic items, that's probably where you're going to be able to like redress balance where necessary. So Dark Elves have already got some pretty good weapons and magic items, right? They don't need better magic items, right? Dark Elves need something added to them. I know I've skipped, but I'm giving you an example of a faction where the opposite is true. It's the core stuff that's the problem. It's not core, but it's like it's the units that are the problem. It's not the magic weapons. Like, whereas Skaven, I think the units are all fine. They kind of do the job that you'd expect them to do on the table. Like with the Renegade Pack, pack, everything works. But stuff like the Fell Blade, for instance, is an amazing weapon, but should be 50 points and should be assassins only, right? Just saying. Because it was designed by the Skaven to kill Nagash. And basically only assassins have possibly wielded it. So I think make it 50 points and make it assassin only. So you can take a super, like, mega assassin, which everybody will now include in their Skaven list. But it'll be cool as fuck. Because, like, it does multiple wounds, no armor ward or regen save, strength S+3. Like, that's a real, like, threat on an assassin. And the reason I mentioned Dark Elves as being the opposite is that they're just core assassin abilities need to be a lot better. Because you look at, like, you've got weapon skill 8, which is best in the game, sort of. Well, mostly. I think there might be a 9. I think Bloodthirster might be 9. It's got weapon skill 7, which is great. Strength and toughness is okay. Only 2 wounds, so it dies really quickly. It's got no save at all. So you look at it funny and it dies. 3 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 7, no armor saves, doing D3 damage is mega for 140 points. Like, it's really, really scary, and it can pop up in any unit of infantry, you know. So you can really create a threat there. Like, maybe make it 75 points and then make it assassin only, and then assassins, you know. I think that would be quite cool. Something like that. Maybe not that, but something like that. Weeping Blade is pretty good, though. You can give that to an assassin, and you know. But again, 3 attacks, only AP 2. It's not really that reliable. Death Globes are cool. You know, Warpstone armor is 25 points to give a Grace here a 5-up save. You know, 25 points seems quite expensive to do that, to be honest. Cautious Shield is cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. The arcane items are the Storm Demon's okay. Warp Condenser's okay. They can get more Warpstone tokens, which is okay. There's just a lot of stuff that's okay, right? But when you, like, compare these magic items to, for instance, Cathay, who have the best suite of magic items, in my opinion, I think Dark Elves, in terms of magic items, are pretty high up as well. But anyway, the point is that the magic stuff for Skaven doesn't really do the job you need it to do. Like Storm Banner, I just think is too expensive because it's only 1 turn. Like, that should be like 40 points, something like that. Or it has an additional ability. But, you know, because of Cathay and, like, factions relying on flying units quite a lot, you've just got to take it. So you just got to suck up the 65 points, despite the fact it doesn't work against everybody. So, you know, and especially if you're going to be on the bottom tables, you're not going to have those stronger units with the fly ability. So, like, is it really worth taking? Like, it's a really difficult decision to weigh up, really. Grand Banner of Superiority is pretty cool. Like, all the everything in Skaven is pretty cool, but, like, it doesn't quite do what you want it to do. And a final thing about Skaven, like, Jezzails, I know are, you know, okay. I do think they ought to be +1 to hit. And engineers should be BS4, right? They're BS3 at the moment. They definitely should be BS4. And I think Jezzails should get +1 to hit. Or maybe they don't suffer modifiers for shooting at long range. I think that would be better. Because the point of a Jezzail rather than a musket, for instance, is that the Jezzail is heavier. But what that means is that there's less force transferred into the firer from the weapon, which makes the weapon a lot more stable. So its effectiveness, you know, the effectiveness of all range weapons decreases over distance, but it does mean that there is less recoil, so the round travels straighter and is easier to follow. So Jezzails were slightly more accurate, but they came at the trade-off of being way less manoeuvrable. So, you know, they eventually got defeated by muskets because you can run around with muskets, whereas Jezzails you can't really. You know, you need another stick to put the thing on, or maybe, you know, another person to hold the stick to put the thing on. Like, they're difficult to use. but they are in general better because they're heavier weapons. It's a bit like, you know, in the modern day period, it'd be a bit like, you know, giving everybody a Barrett 50 cal and then going up against a load of riflemen. Well, the riflemen would eventually win because the Barrett 50 cal's slow fire rate, you know, it is incredibly accurate at an incredible range. But the rifleman can manoeuvre around a lot better, can, you know, take advantage of cover a lot better, you know, and so, well, that's a terrible example, but I'm sure you get what I'm driving at, and you know the flaws that I've already spotted with my stupid metaphor. But, you know, they need to do something with Giselles. And to be honest, if I was going to do anything else with Skaven, I'd bring back Skaven slaves. I really like. I mean, clan rats aren't far off Skaven slaves, but I'd like some 2-point Skaven slaves, please, that I can attach rattling guns to. That would be great. That's probably not going to happen, but I do like Skaven slaves. I do like this massive, like, unwashed rat men. I think that's pretty cool. I know you can kind of simulate that with giant rats. Like, that's basically the sort of the battlefield role that the giant rats occupy wherever the hell they've gone. And rat swarms need to be a little bit better. I don't know why or how, but like they're just not really. They're just because there's 3 of them. Like it's 100 and odd points that, you know, maybe should have scout. Well, they've got Vanguard, haven't they? And move 6. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're worth including. I don't know. Anyway, Skaven needs some stuff doing to it, and I think that little internal all over the place dialogue I just had, or monologue, just displays how difficult it actually is to write all these rules. And so, you know, we really should give a lot of credit for the creation. My one problem with the Renegade Pack is the need for it to exist, and I think I agree with Val, because, you know, that's what he says in his preamble. I can't remember where, but he's not attempting to balance them, and, you know, he's trying to sort of free it up a little bit and make them be a bit more flexible and play better. But then again, he is correcting some rules, so there is a bit of like balance going on a little bit. So I think, you know, Skaven do need bumping up. So do Dark Elves. But then again, you look at the core factions, so do Empire and Wood Elves. Like, they're both struggling a little bit in general at the moment. So, you know, is it really Val's job to address the game balance? Absolutely not. Is it Val's job to actually write this thing? No. I think some of these 1+s though. But yeah, I think that's my sort of overall review of this stuff, of this Renegade Pack. I think it's very good. I really like the dragged along stuff, and I'm next time I get paid, I'm definitely getting some more Skaven, because I really want to take a Skaven listed tournament. But it's just I can't. Maybe I'll do a video on that, like how to conceptualize an effective Skaven list that could beat Cathay. It's a big question. I don't think it's possible. But anyway, if you've got this far in the video, I'd like to hope you might think of subscribing and giving me one of those. If you've liked the video, of course. If you haven't, you know, don't. But I always appreciate any comments. We'll happily talk to you down below. I think I've answered every comment I've been made. Like I've said in other videos, the community, the comments tab of the YouTube bit has changed recently, and I've noticed that sometimes I miss comments, particularly on the mobile app. So sometimes I'll respond to stuff and then there'll be comments on there that I've totally missed. So yeah, but I have responded to everything, I think, and if I haven't, I apologise. I've just not spotted it. But anyway, it's not because I can't be asked. It's just I've not seen it. But yeah, I hope that's been helpful little run through of the Renegade Pack. I've finally found some things that I sort of can pretend to disagree with passionately, although I don't really. I think it's all pretty much fine. But to be honest, that's my real. It's definitely 100% an improvement on what we've got at the moment. So, and the 1.5 rules seem pretty sensible. The one thing I'd do is make Giselles, you know, not suffer negative penalties at long range. They don't have or increase their range, so it's very long. That's the other option. Actually, that's a really good point, isn't it? Old. Don't know what that is. It seems to be an M. Night Shyamalan. Grand Cathay. What is the balloons weapons range? They have crane guns 36. Yeah. Like Giselle should be that good. Just saying. 6-2 armor bane 2 cumbersome. Well, Giselle's a move or shoot, and you know, rightfully so. They are a move or shoot thing. 6, 3. Oh, no, they are 36-inch range. I thought they were 24 for some reason in my head. Oh no, no. And they have magical attacks, which is good. Yeah. No, it's this. Because he can only take a musket, which is 24, you know, which isn't as good as a Giselle, which is annoying. I also want the Warlock Engineer with a rocket launcher back. I think that's such a cool model. It's such a cool rule set. Like, give me my bloody Bombardier. Warlock Bombardier, that's what they're called. Give me my Bombardier back. I really like that. That's my one. I want my Bombardier back, damn it. But yeah, I think Giselle's... Actually, if you gave them 48-inch range, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Because they are, you know, on the ground. They are steady. They're not, you know, on a balloon. They should be a bit more reliable than they are. You know, not damage 2. They're not, you know, bow shabty with their arrows that are the size of crossbow bolts. They're not, you know, I don't think they should have that rule. You know, no multiple wound 2. But... yeah, Grand Cathay. Sorry, I've just... did they have... I keep... stop it. I keep thinking in my head that they've got multiple wounds, but they don't, do they? Armor Bane 2 and Cumbersome. Yeah. Armor Bane 2 and Cumbersome. So, yeah, I mean, whatever. So Giselle's are better than those. But, I mean... yeah. This goes back to another point I was making on another video. 135 points for a Sky Lantern, right? How much is 5 Giselles that don't have all the cool rules of the thingamy? Of the balloon? About 8 of them. So you can have 8 Giselles or a balloon with basically 5. But the 5 on the balloon have got better ballistic skills, so they're, you know, they hit as reliably as 8 or 9 Giselles. So, you know, a balloon is basically a unit of like 8 or 9 Giselles in terms of, like, you know, math hammering stats and stuff. And the Giselles are more expensive. Which, you know, I know that means the balloon is way underpointed, like massively underpointed. It should be, you know, maybe 200 points, maybe a little bit more. But hey, yeah, so if you got this far in the video, I hope you consider subscribing. I hope this has been helpful, or at least a sort of a vaguely acceptable accompaniment to a hobby session. And... look forward to seeing you shortly-ish. Maybe. I mean, you know, maybe you're bored of me. Anyway, but if you like the video, do that. And if you haven't, you know, don't. And I shall wish you a great day. Toodaloo.